and sauerkraut to all of you. I am Jared Johnson, the Jared J. Joining me to my left is a man that may or may not have ever eaten sauerkraut, the Talmadge Rodger Varnado the third. Every day, see, there's things we still learn about each other, even after 15 plus years of being friends. So we're going to be talking a little more about the National Football League today. If you've been following the channel, you may be aware I am a Washington Commanders fan. Talmadge's Tennessee Titans are his favorite football team. So we're going to look a little bit at like our outlook for the upcoming season for Talmadge's Tennessee Titans, and my name doesn't really flow, but for the Washington Commanders as well. So Talmadge, we got draft picks and talk about any other offseason moves they made, but essentially, what is your outlook recapping the offseason so far to this point? What do you see moving forward into the season for Tennessee?
I think it'll be interesting for sure. I think it'll be a more exciting season than last year, but I'm not talking about wins or losses. This team could win 4 or 5 games, but if they answer certain questions, I'm happy with that. Now, I say that now, and obviously on Sunday when you're watching the game, when they're losing, you're still going to be upset. But I try to remind myself, you got to know where you are.
They're in a different place than the team that's competing for a Super Bowl. Yeah. So, yeah.
Now, luckily for them, they're still in the division, and I don't want to disrespect Houston because they won the division the last 2 years, but they did win with a 10-7 record. So, to me, you're not an elite team in the league unless you win 12 games. 12 plus,
yeah.
You're elite. Because we've seen teams win 11, 10, and not make the playoffs.
And not even make the playoffs,
so
yeah.
I would say it's still not a division where they can't progress.
True.
But I wouldn't call them the favorites either. Obviously, they won 3 games. They don't
can't really call them the favorites,
yeah. They don't deserve that. But as far as their draft goes, this is probably the best draft they've had in years, in my opinion. It didn't quite break out the way I thought it would. For example, they got a pick in the 4th round that I probably would have taken in the 5th round. They got a pick in the 4th round that I thought was going to go in the 2nd round. And they got to have some people actually come back from injury a little bit and develop. For instance, their 2nd round pick, the defensive end from UCLA.
Yeah.
Great physical talent.
Oluwafemi Oladejo.
Great. If you watch his tape, you know why they took him as high as they took him.
Yeah.
Problem is he always played stand-up linebacker. And he took on that edge role in the middle of the season, not even for a full season. So he's never played edge until the last handful of games last year. So you don't know how he's going to do as an edge, but just the physical traits show you he's going to do well. So he's going to have to develop. It was a risky pick at number 2, but the talent's just so good. They went ahead and grabbed it. Obviously, the top of the draft. This draft's not going to be considered successful. I don't care if the rest of the guys are great. If the quarterback they picked isn't any good.
The number 1 overall pick,
So you'd like to think he's going to be okay. I know they like what they've seen so far. Granted, it's just been mini camp and OTAs, but they do like what he's seen. They like the way he conducts himself. They see the arm talent, but they also see the reasons why people knocked him a little bit. He's a bit aggressive. He tries to make plays he probably can't make. But the problem is he's so talented, he'll make one play and think he can do it every single time, and it's probably still not wise. So the top of the draft's interesting because it could go either way.
True.
But I like the picks, and I like the talent. My favorite pick of the draft is their 3rd round pick, the safety out of Penn State.
I was about to say Kevin Winston Jr., safety from Penn State. The fact that he was available at pick number 82 in the 3rd round, not that it's a huge shock, but they jumped on that.
If he wasn't injured, he wouldn't have been.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And he was injured all of last year, except for like 1 or 2 games, I think, at the beginning of the year. But if he can come back healthy, he's a do-it-all safety.
Yeah, he's a pretty darn good football player.
And one thing I think he's going to be good. The receiver out of Florida, I like the speed.
Yeah, I don't know as much about him, but
he's got great speed. I mean, like 4.2 speed. I mean, really good speed, and he runs crossers, which is kind of he's small, but he still runs crossing routes, believe it or not. And that's what Ward likes to throw, a lot of crossing routes. So I can see why they took him. Probably a little early for me, but I
thought so too, honestly. I was a little surprised they took him when they did, but
Now, the receiver out of Stanford that they took, I thought the roles were reversed. I thought he would go soon.
I concur. Alec Ayomanor, I was surprised he was available at pick number 136 in the fourth round.
I thought he'd go a little sooner. Now, he does drop the ball a little bit. He doesn't have great separation, but he's big. He makes the contested
He's big.
catch.
He's a good target. Contested catches.
And they have no one else on their roster right now that can do what he does. So I can definitely see why
need some young receiver talent, so they do.
Yeah.
Those were both good picks.
Yeah. Well, because of position and potential. They both have their question marks. A sneaky good pick for them is a tight end out of Texas. I think
Gunnar Helm, yeah.
And I think he might be the starting tight end by the end of the year.
You don't have as much confidence in Chico.
I do, but I think he is what he is.
Me too.
And I think that Helm is probably the best combination of blocker and pass catcher. Now, his blocking is not great, but he's a better blocker than the starting tight end they got now, who I love as a receiver and who got really hot at the end of last year.
He always has stretches of games where you're like, man, why didn't this guy?
Well, he reminds me a lot of a former Titan tight end, Jonnu Smith. You saw the talent.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
And if you saw what he did in Miami last year, like, where's this been?
Yeah, why did it take 8 years for us to see this?
So I like him, but I think there'll be a good combination. Of course, they still have Wiley, the tight end of Cincinnati, as well.
Yeah.
I think these two will battle for the starting job. It just wouldn't shock me if Helm got the starting job by the end of the year.
He should at least get some pretty good playing time.
Not very athletic, but he can get open.
Yeah,
he can get, and he's worked on his drops. He doesn't drop the ball like he did early in his career, so I like that pick a lot. They took a little known guard out of Sacramento State.
Jackson Slater.
I think he'll be a versatile player for them. In fact, I think he'll start out at guard, but I think he'll end up at center in a couple of years.
Okay.
When the center they have now, Cushenberry, when his contract is I think he can slide.
Did Jackson Slater play some center in college? I don't know a lot about him.
No, I don't believe he did, but okay. I think.
So if he did, I'm not aware.
I think that's why they took him. The only pick they made that I didn't like at all was the corner out of California. Just Harris, I wasn't a big fan of his.
I mean, then again, and not that I disagree necessarily, but when you get to the 6th round,
you're scraping the bottom.
Some of it is dart throws, if not almost all of it.
But he's the only one where I just don't like it all.
Gotcha.
Even the running back they got at Michigan.
Mullins.
I see why they took him. They needed a power back.
And
again, Spears can't
he's available in the 6th round, so why not?
And Spears can't stay healthy. And Pollard.
Yeah.
Pollard, I don't want to say he's not a lead back, but he's not a true lead back. Yes, he can be the back on your team that gets the majority of the carry.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But he's not.
Third
the ball to him
25, 30 carries a game.
And it showed in the last year. His production kind of wore down.
I like Tony Pollard, but I concur.
So I could see that pick. So I would give their draft a B+. Now, a lot of good things have to happen. The safety's got to get healthy. Of course, the quarterback has to be a success. If he's not,
it all hinges on it.
But I like what they were trying to do. So
how do you like Xavier Restrepo that they picked up as an undrafted free agent? Former college teammate.
That's why. That's why. And he's looked good in OTAs. Again, OTAs, they're not in pads. I get it. But he's not dropping the ball. The quarterback clearly has confidence in it.
I think it was really smart that they picked him up because of the chemistry with Cameron Ward. Yeah.
People say I don't think there's a question. I think he makes the team. Now, people are saying he's on the, can go either way.
Well, he's an undrafted free agent, so people are going to say it for that reason.
He'll make the team.
I'd be shocked if he didn't.
So I like their draft a lot. And then to sum it all up, I would just say free agency, they did what they had to do. They didn't take the big splashes they took last year.
True.
When we had this conversation last year, I said the Titans' goal is to find out if Will Levis could play or not.
Yeah.
If they find out that answer, I don't care what their win total is, it was a success. They found out.
They found that out.
And so they were able to move on. So while the record wasn't a success, if that's the first step to the rebuild, I'm happy with it.
You have to learn things like that or to get to this success with wins.
Well, what I didn't want them to be is like the Giants with Daniel Jones or like a lot of other quarterbacks we've seen. They've shown some, so you're like, is he good? Is he not? I wanted to know.
Yeah.
I wanted to flat out know. Doesn't mean Levis can't go somewhere else, which I think they will trade him. It might not be to the last the week before the season starts.
Yeah, but they could probably get
they'll get
something in return, and why not if you're not going to start?
It's going to be something like a conditional 6th or 7th.
Oh, it won't be. Yeah, yes.
But my point is, if they, it'll be a lot like the quarterback they traded last year, from Liberty. I can't think of his name. Malik Willis.
Malik Willis.
They did the same thing last year. Malik played a lot in the preseason, and the week before the season, he got traded to Green Bay. And by the way, he actually helped Green Bay win some games last year.
He won about
started 3 or 4 games. Yeah. So, and I think the same thing will happen with Levis. He's going to play a lot in the preseason. They'll probably trade him before the first game of the regular season. If they can get a conditional 6th or 7th, they'll take it. But they found out their answer. And this year, I would say something very similar. I would say, if they find out if Callahan is their coach next year, and if they can double their win total, because they only won 3 games. To me, success for Tennessee is 6 wins and Callahan's still your coach. Because if Callahan's still your coach, that probably means your quarterback showed something.
Right.
If Callahan's not your coach, it probably means your quarterback.
You got to kind of start over. You're not building without that.
Well, you'll keep Ward, but I'm saying.
Well, yeah, but
Callahan's going to be there for Ward so he can play.
Yes.
Period. Yes. If they win 6 games and Ward's their quarterback, Callahan keeps his job. If they win less than 6 games or Ward doesn't show any progression, Callahan's not your coach. So just like with Levis last year, if they find out that answer this year, I'll call it a success. High side, if everything broke right, I could see them winning 8-9 games. But that's if everything broke right. I mean, and that's a lot.
Yeah.
More likely, I'd say 5 or 6 wins.
I think that's more realistic. Just as an objective, I don't dislike the Titans. They're not my favorite team, but I think they had a pretty good draft. I look at a lot of their picks and I see potential with all those players. So, with their draft this year, I'd say they're heading in the right direction. We'll see how far that goes this year. Like you said, the expectations are.
Well, the only other thing I would say about them is if they're not good, if they're halfway through the season and they haven't shown any progress, I would not be surprised if Jeffrey Simmons was traded because he doesn't fit their timeline anymore. If they're not progressing, you need to trade him and get something for him. And he still has a nice market out there. He does you no good on this team if they're not going to be good.
True.
He serves no purpose.
And he looks like he could eat some sauerkraut himself.
He doesn't need to eat anything else. He's lost a lot of weight this year, though. But yeah, he's their best defensive player. But again, if you come to a resolution with him, I think it's a success. Whether that means you traded him or if you kept him, it means you're progressing fast.
Yeah.
If you dump him, that probably means you're not progressing as fast. I don't see any way he stays on this team, though, if they're not progressing because he doesn't fit their timeline. So there's questions they have to answer. That makes sense. I'm curious to see how the team looks with the new GM. So I'm looking forward to the season, but not because I think they're going to be any good.
Yeah.
Just because I think I want to see Cam Ward play 17
You want to see some questions answered.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So the Commanders last season were in a similar situation. This year, expectations are definitely different. They went from being a team that won, 4 games in 2023 to make it to the NFC Championship last year. So definitely different expectations. I didn't have a lot of expectations for the team last year. I'm excited. I'm going to see what Jaden Daniels does. And they exceeded what I expected for sure. I've been pretty happy with their offseason. There's some things I wanted to see happen that didn't. I'll touch on a little bit. But prior to the draft, they traded the 5th round pick to San Francisco for Deebo Samuel. I was happy with that because Deebo may not be in his prime anymore. I know he's had a lot of usage and some injuries, but they're in win now mode. Are you going to get a more impactful player in the 5th round this year? Good chance that the answer to that is no. So for that reason, I thought this is a good pick. If they're rebuilding, I'd say, what are y'all doing? Trading draft capital for Deebo Samuel. But I think he'll step in and make a difference right away. They don't need him to be their superstar because they've got Terry McLaurin. As of this recording, they haven't extended Terry McLaurin's contract. So I'll quickly say, pay this man, get the foolishness over with. He's a great receiver. He and Jaden Daniels had good rapport last year. I get that he's almost 30. I don't care. He's still playing great. Let's pay him and not let it become a distraction. I'm going to try not to rant on that over and over,
And it would
but just pay the man and let's
I'll
go.
take the opposite view. It would surprise me if they did.
You think they're going to let him go? I hope not.
I could see it because that wrong side of 30 teams hold to that.
You're not wrong.
They don't waver from that. They really don't.
Yeah, but he's still not. Yeah, I can see that. But if that's the case, y'all should have drafted Jaden Higgins or y'all should have drafted somebody. Yeah, I don't think they're in a good spot to not pay him. Are you going to trade for somebody else before the season starts? We'll see. Some of that might be answered by the time this episode airs.
Yeah, and you got a harder decision to make if you're the Commanders because obviously they skipped some steps. They didn't expect to be where they are this quickly, so they had to kind of change on the fly, which is a good thing. But at the same time, it's still you weren't able to plan for it. They didn't think they would be. They're instantly in win now mode. When last year, there's no way you would have said that.
Exactly.
So they got a tough job because they're kind of. This is where we thought we were going to be.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh!
Suddenly
here where we are. Now we got to adjust our whole game. Yeah, it's.
So I concur with that, but I think Terry's still really good. Hey, I say pay him. We're in win now mode. If you pay him and keep him, and you get a Super Bowl within the next couple of years, it was worth it. Then trade up and draft Jeremiah Smith in a couple of years. I'll be happy with that too. I'll be very happy with that. But yeah, I want them to bring McLaurin back as long as you don't have to pay him $50 million a year or something crazy, and they won't. Pay the guy what he's worth. I think what I want. They also did a deal where they sent a 25 third round, a 25 seventh round, a 26 second round, and a 26 fourth round. So they sent quite a bit of draft capital to the Texans in exchange for Laramie Tunzel and a 25 fourth. Also, because they're in win now mode, I'm okay with that. Normally, I don't like giving up a lot of draft capital like that. This one's a little risky, but you got one of the better offensive tackles in the league, and you got to protect your most potent offensive weapon in Jaden Daniels. So
I can see why they did it.
Yeah.
I can't argue their logic. But the question I would have is Tunsil was a locker room issue in Houston.
See, I didn't know that until after the deal. I just had never heard
their offensive line is garbage in Houston, and you're going to trade your best offensive lineman away, which means he was impacting the team so negatively, they didn't want the problem anymore because they subtracted from a weakness
how good he is,
to get rid of him.
That's a good point.
So there's a part of me that's like, was that a bit of an overpay? But you never.
It might have been. I'm not sure either because when I heard everything initially, I was like, y'all gave up how much for him? But I get the Super Bowl window. You want to get there now, so that's why I'm kind of like, I'm okay with this, but we'll see.
We're gonna have to.
Yeah.
And again, I understand why they did it.
Oh,
talent alone, he fits what they need. But again, you came from a team that was successful too, that's in win now mood also.
Yeah, that's
and they said,
true.
we don't want you anymore. And our offensive line was
They've
horrible
also
last
got
year.
a quarterback they need to protect.
Right.
So yeah, those are some good points.
End of the day, I probably still would have made the deal.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. All of that, I didn't know about the locker room issues till they did the trade. Then I was like, do I like this deal or not? I kind of, because you know how much I value the person and not just the player. So I kind of had that reaction.
And I don't know if I'm giving a third and a second. I might give one of the two, but a third and a second. And you're giving late round capital too? Yeah.
I know that. Don't get me wrong.
It better work.
It better work. If they win a Super Bowl in the next couple of years, I'm going to be okay with this. And then as far as their draft, first round, Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle from Oregon. Yes, I like that. Another pretty good tackle to protect Jaden Daniels.
Is he going to play on the right, I would assume?
I believe he'll be the right tackle. At pick 29, there were some other guys I would like to have had. This might be a little bit of a reach, but I think this player I'm about to name is worth it. I would have loved it if they'd gotten Trevion Henderson here. There was Donovan Ezaraku, defensive end from Boston College, that the Cowboys got in the second round. He's another one I really wanted with this pick. And then the safety, Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina.
A lot of people liked him.
Big, strong, hard hitter. I would have loved to have seen him. So while I'm happy with Josh Connerly, there were a few other guys that I was like, I don't know if Connerly's my favorite pick here, but I'm okay with it, and it makes sense.
And it was a position of need.
Yes, so I'm saying it makes sense. Those other guys, I still was kind of like,
I got you.
But round 2, pick 61, Trey Amos, cornerback from Ole Miss. I was happy that he fell this far. I didn't know if he'd be available. I think he probably starts from week 1. Now they got him, Mike Sanders still, who's a second-year player that I'm very happy about. I think Trey Amos definitely fits what they needed. I think that was a smart move. They did not have a third-round pick. Pick number 4 is growing on me, but at first I was like, are y'all kidding me? Jalen Lane, wide receiver from Virginia Tech. He didn't have big numbers, like 500 yards receiving or something last year. Mostly damage on special teams. He does run like a 4.38 40. But my initial thought was, this is the 4th round. If you wanted a guy that's just a fast return man, you could probably find that in round 6 or 7. Devin Neal was on the board at this point. I think Jalen Royals was still on the board. Brashard Smith was on the board. I was flat out not happy with this pick. I've been hearing good things from minicamp. Is it coach speak? I don't know. He's got the speed.
You know what, though?
If he plays well with Jaden, I'll be happy eventually, but I wasn't happy at first.
You see this a lot, though, and here's what I'm about to say. I agree with you. I thought he would go later in the draft. I'm not a great big fan, but if you notice, they didn't have the 5th round pick. So if they liked him
that's true too.
Like, I don't have a pick for a whole round. He's not going to be there. And I think that makes it make a little more sense.
It does.
Because they didn't have now, if they would have had a 5th round pick, I don't think you take him in the 4th.
Probably not.
But you see teams do it all the time. If they don't have a pick in a round, they might
will reach. Yeah. And I'll say this too. I've been pretty darn impressed with the job that their general manager, Adam Peters, has done. So even in the moment when I vehemently disagreed, I had to remind myself, hey, Jared, Adam Peters might know a little bit more about this than you do. So relax. Like you've trusted a lot of the moves he's made. Yeah. So let's maybe be open-minded here. I kind of talked myself into it.
And I take that philosophy, too. I would take that philosophy no matter who your team is. If you trust your front office, you have to trust that they're making the right decisions. Are they going to miss? Everybody misses.
Everybody will.
But when you look at the totality of their work, do they win more than they lose? And if they win more than they lose, you trust them.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've got. So I hope Jalen Lane will be great. Also, recently I heard that Noah Brown was injured in camp. So you got Terry McLaurin, you got Deebo Samuel. Does Jalen Lane now step in at the number 3? He could win the number 3 receiver spot. They've also got KJ Osborne, who's a guy that I've always liked. He hasn't been a star yet in the NFL, but I do like KJ Osborne. He's a solid depth piece. I wouldn't mind seeing him get that opportunity. So we'll see what happens. And there's Luke McCaffrey, who I really like. So there's opportunity. Jalen Lane, if nothing else, might be a good payoff for the future because Samuel and McLaurin are both not young anymore. So that pick is growing on me. 6th round, they took a linebacker from UCLA, Kane Medrano. Admittedly, I don't know much about him. I had to again say, do I trust Adam Peters? Like, I'd heard of the guy, but I don't know enough to have a real strong opinion.
When I was looking at the Titans' 2nd round pick, I can't say his name. You said it.
Oh, yeah.
I saw him a little bit on tape when I was watching.
Okay.
He didn't flash, like he didn't stand out, but he looked solid. And I'm by no means a scout. Please, I'm not trying to sound like
right.
But from what I saw, because even if you're not a scout, some players just blow up on the screen. He didn't, but you didn't see him make a lot of mistakes either. He wasn't trailing plays. He looked like he had good instincts.
And we're
like you
talking
told
about
me,
a
the
sixth-round
yeah,
pick.
yeah, it's a
So
6th-round pick,
I will say, other than
and he can play special teams. So
yeah, right. So you get a really good special teamer in the 6th round. That's not a bad pick. Other than the fact that I wish they had drafted Brashard Smith, I'm okay with Kane Madrano here. And then 7th round, they did get a running back, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt out of Arizona. He only played one game last year due to some eligibility issues, but the year before at New Mexico State, he had, I want to say, over 1,100 yards rushing. So pretty good athlete. He's got some speed. He was kind of one that was on my radar a little bit because I like Brian Robinson Jr., but I wanted them to add a running back because Robinson is in the final year of his contract. This running back class was so deep. I wanted Trevion more than anybody. RJ Harvey's another guy I wanted really bad. Devin Neal, who I've already mentioned. Brashard Smith. There are several that I was like, I could see fitting the Commanders' offense really well. And Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt was kind of one of the, if they don't get anybody else, I would be okay with him. So believe it or not, and I mean, I guess you would believe this. Why would I lie about it? When the Chiefs took Brashard Smith, I literally thought to myself, well, there's Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt and there's Marcus Yarns at Delaware. Please tell me we're at least taking one of them now. And so when they took him, I was like, okay. So he was on my radar as a, if we don't get any of these other guys. So I think he could carve out a role maybe as early as this year. I'm not saying he will. I think he's more of an investment in the future. But Eckler's getting older, and he's in the second year of his 2 years. He's in the final contract year.
And
Robinson's in the final contract year. Jeremy McNichols is fine, but he's not their answer long term.
Yeah, he is what he
Krosky Merritt could carve out a pretty good role, at least by his second year. Because he's younger, faster. If he impresses them enough, hey.
Yeah, I know him by name because, of course, when you're doing draft prep, you see.
Yeah.
But I've never really seen him play. I thought I was going to see him play this year, being in the Big 12. I'm a Cougar fan, so I thought when the Houston Cougars play, but as you mentioned,
he only played one game, so that's why you didn't. So. Another guy I would love for them to have taken is Emeka Egbuka. I'm a big fan of him. He simply wasn't available when they picked at 29 because Tampa Bay got him. So that bothered me, but not because they didn't take him. They didn't have a chance to take him. Right. So that is what it is. I wanted them to take him so he could then step in and be pretty much their number one receiver in a year or two when these other two guys do maybe get older and move on or slow down. That was what I wanted with Egbuka. Also, man, I would have loved if they could have traded for Myles Garrett. After saying he wants to go somewhere that he can win, he re-signed with Cleveland. I was hoping badly that they could get him. I still wouldn't mind seeing a trade for Trey Hendrickson if that could develop. Because, again, as long as they don't have to pay too much for him, he could help them win a Super Bowl. They are in win-now mode.
Well, the one thing that concerns me a little bit, and I don't know what their draft capital is next year, but you see they only had
they don't have a
huge,
they don't have
and they're going to run into that same problem next year.
True.
And I'm like, how do you replenish?
If you keep doing this
Tunsil thing better work out because
I know
their depth can be gutted. I mean, this is where you get depth. This is where you get player development.
Yes.
And 4 or 5 players a year bringing them in.
Otherwise, you got to really just look at the free agents and hope you hit gold somewhere. So
it better work.
I concur. And up until this past week, I was kind of hoping they'd sign J.K. Dobbins. I'm a little perplexed why they didn't jump on that. He's now signed with Denver, so congratulations to them. He, again, when you didn't, sign him to at least a 1-year deal. Put him and Robinson playing off each other with Jaden Daniels. By the following year, Krosky Merritt might be able to be ready to step up. I was hoping to see that. They didn't. Congratulations to the Broncos. But Dobbins is another guy I would like to have seen them. And speaking of free agents, and I'll land the plane with this, but looking ahead to next season, none of this may happen, and it may not even be great. But looking at the running back going into next year, if I'm not mistaken, and these two guys aren't necessarily superstars, but two guys that I believe are heading into contract years that I wouldn't mind watching grabbing up next year: Kenneth Walker III, Keaton Mitchell. Just throwing that out a year in advance. I'm fans of both those guys. I sure as heck wouldn't mind one or both of them, contingent upon what Robinson does. If Robinson, nothing against him, but if he moves on and they sign Walker and Keaton Mitchell and keep Ja'Cory Krasky-Merritt, I might be okay with that.
Right.
Just throwing that out a year too early, but never too early to speculate. So as far as you said, your outlook was just for the Titans to double in wins, and that's all reasonable for where they are. I genuinely hope and believe it's a good possibility that the Commanders could compete in and win the Super Bowl this year. I'm not predicting it. I'm not saying I think it's the most likely outcome. I'm not going to pound my chest all year and saying we're doing it. First of all, it's not we. I need to try not to say that. I'm not affiliated with the team. I'm not going to say they will win it, but they went to the NFC title game last year, got their rear ends kicked pretty good by Philadelphia, who went on to win the Super Bowl. The Washington's building, they're going to be a force. Philadelphia's still tough. Detroit's still tough. Minnesota was tough last year. We'll see now with the new quarterback. Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, they're not going anywhere. It will not be easy. And I'm not saying, well, of course Washington's got the Super Bowl in the bag. No, they don't. They got to get out of the NFC. It won't be easy. All I'm saying is that's what I'd love to see. And I do believe it could happen. There's a path for it. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, if you make the NFC Championship game, it'd be foolish to say they're not contenders. So they are contenders. Don't
Yes.
misunderstand me. The one thing that scares me about this team is you saw them make that big leap. If they take a step back, that's not necessarily a bad thing because no one expected them to do what they did last year,
Right.
number one. Number two, their depth scares me. I don't think they're very deep. I think they have any kind of injury at all. This whole thing could fall apart.
And you're not wrong. Yeah.
But I tend to agree more with you. I don't know if they have to make it back to the NFC Championship game again, but as long as they're contending and making the playoffs,
Yeah.
I call that a success. Again, because I don't want them to be a victim of their own success. You know, they skipped so many steps last year.
That's true.
It wouldn't surprise me if they got knocked back down a little bit, but I do expect them to be competing for a playoff spot. For example, I don't think Detroit's going to be as good as people think. I really
They
don't.
may not. Ben Johnson just moved on for one
They
thing.
lost both their coordinators, and they've had some retirements, and they've lost some folks in free agency, and now people expect it. And when people expect it, it changes everything. While I think teams in the West and the NFC are going to be better than they were last year. I could see Seattle taking a positive step. I could see the Cardinals taking a positive step.
Possibly for both of them.
I think the Rams are going to be really good.
I forgot to name them, and I should have. You're right. They played the Eagles pretty good in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they knocked the Vikings out of the playoffs relatively easy. So no, my apologies to the Rams organization. I didn't name them before. They're going to be a contender as well. So that is our episode for today. Hope y'all did like it. If you did, please show that by clicking the like button. If you've not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It will help enable me to continue to give you more of this type of content as well as many other types of content. For the Talmadge Rodger Varnado III, I am Jared Johnson, the Jared J. Hope y'all have a great week and hope I see you again real soon. Yeah,